Okay, Chair, we are now live.
Thank you. Welcome everyone to this Council Tax Setting Committee. Thanks for joining us today. I'll just get Matthew Hepburn from Committee Service just do a quick intro and then we'll go into the formal part of the meeting. Matthew?
Thank you, Chair. So please note that the meeting is being streamed live onto YouTube and recorded via Zoom. And I'll just undertake a roll call. Councillor Ian Albert.
Yep.
Thank you. Councillor Levitt.
Present.
Thank you. Councillor North.
Here.
Thank you. Councillor Martin Steers-Hanscom.
I'm here. Yep.
Thank you. And Councillor Strong is currently absent, but I will let her in if she arrives. And officers, Joe Dufficy.
Present.
Thank you. Geraldine Goodwin.
Here, yep.
Thank you. Mark Gaines.
Here.
Thank you. And William Edwards.
Present.
Thank you very much. Extracts from the remote, partly remote meetings protocol are included with the agenda, and the full version is available on the Council's website, which includes information such as live streaming, noise interference, rules of debate, voting, and Part 2 items, and members are requested to ensure they are familiar with the protocol. Are there any questions before we start the meeting? No, thank you. Back to you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Matthew. So apologies, welcome to the meeting. Apologies for absence. I've got none received at the moment. We've got some minutes from the 27th of February 2020. Now, since the beginning of March, when we started to hold meetings remotely, we've been unable to approve minutes of meetings. We're now able to approve these minutes with the electronic signature of the chair being applied following approval. The minutes that we've got for approval are those of the 27th of February last year, 2020. I'd like to propose that we take these as read and approve as a true record the minutes of the meeting held on that day. Could I have a seconder, please, from colleagues? Thank you, David. Yeah, thank you, David. And I authorise the, if that's agreed, authorise committee member and scrutiny officer to apply my electronic signature and initial to the approved minutes. Are colleagues happy to agree those minutes? Yeah, I think we can see nods and approvals. But probably just formally, just if you want to just click on the yes box, just to show we've agreed those. Okay, and that looks, yeah, that looks, everyone's agreed those. Thank you. The notification of other business, there's been no notification of other business. And on announcements, as usual ones, in accordance with the council policy, this meeting's been audio recorded as well as filmed. The audio recordings will be available to view on ModGov and the film recording via the NHDC YouTube channel. Members are reminded to make declarations of interest before an item. The detailed reminder about this and speaking rights is set out earlier on in the agenda. Public participation, we have none, which takes us to the paper item I think 7, which is the council tax base 21-22, and ask the service director customers Joe Dufficy to present the paper. Joe?
Thank you. So this is the annual paper that comes to this committee as part of the council tax setting process. It is a statutory requirement to set a tax base each year so that the levels of council tax for the coming financial year can be set. The process is set out in statute and requires a formal resolution to set the tax base, and the process for calculating the tax base is the same for all councils. So the tax base is established by calculating the equivalent number of Band D properties in the district. At North Herts, we calculate this separately for each parish and town, effectively repeating the exercise 37 times to reach an overall total for the district. As detailed in 2.2, the tax base calculation is 49,396.9. Points to note that this is a decrease of 1.17%. Compared with last year, or 2021, I should say. And when the tax base is calculated, it takes into account exemptions and discounts as shown in the example at Appendix B. The tax base this year has been impacted by the coronavirus pandemic, which has seen an increase in the amount of council tax reduction awarded. CTR is, of course, a discount, and therefore any increase in discounts decreases the tax base, and that's explained at 8.4. We need the committee to approve the tax base calculation in this report so that the council tax itself can be set at the meeting in February, and we have to give advance notice to the parishes and precepting authorities so that they can set their council tax. In terms of the non-collection rate, we are also recommending that that is set at 1%, as with previous years. We traditionally have a very high collection rate of above 99%. Points to note is that the total non-collection rate is different to in-year collection, as council tax is not always collected in the same year which it is owed. In-year collection is slightly down compared to the same time of the previous year, but there has been an increase in customers choosing to pay over 12 instalments rather than the standard 10, which will have impacted on the in-year collection. And that is described at 8.9 and 8.10. I think they are the key points covered. Are there any questions on that?
Yeah, open. Yeah, colleagues, open to questions or debate. I can't see any hands. No. So if I formally move those recommendations from the chair that the committee has recommended to set a non-collection rate of 1% for 21-22, and the committee has recommended to set the council tax base for 21-22 at 49,396.9, and that the individual sums shown in Appendix A for each parish be agreed. That's I'm moving that. Is there that seconded?
Happy to second.
Happy to. Thank you, Councillor Steers Hanscom. We do need a formal vote on this in accordance with the Constitution Standing Order 4.8.16 HI or H1. Matthew, are we able to sort of take both recommendations in a single vote?
Yes, that's fine, Chair. So I'll just carry out the recorded vote now. If you could answer for, against, or abstain. So Councillor Albert.
For.
Thank you. Councillor Levitt.
For.
Thank you. Councillor North.
For.
Councillor Steers Hanscom.
For.
Thank you. And Councillor Strong is currently absent. So that is carried, and that's all four.
Thank you, Matthew. Which then moves us on to agenda item 8, which is the national non-domestic rate return. And Joe, if you'd like to move that paper for us.
Okay. So this is another statutory return which we have to submit to MHCLG by the 31st of January. This return is the best estimate of NNDR to be collected in the following year. It's not unusual that the form that needs to be completed arrives late, and that has been the case this year, with it turning up literally just before the Christmas break, which hasn't allowed colleagues enough time to complete the return at this moment. Therefore, the return is not included accompanying the report tonight. So with that in mind, want to make some amendments to the recommendations. So if I continue with the report itself and then summarise the revised recommendations afterwards.
Yep, thank you.
Okay, so the NNDR1 traditionally follows the government's autumn statement and is amended each year to take into consideration any changes to business rates that are made. Obviously, we didn't have an autumn statement in 2020. And this is now expected to be delivered in the spring of 21. As I've mentioned already, the report itself was received very late this year, and there are further amendments expected to come in terms of the information that needs to be completed and the return itself. And They are detailed in 8.9. And additionally, we think that there may be some last minute changes to retail relief as well, all of which will mean further iterations of the report, perhaps even after it's been submitted at the end of January. I will pause at this point to see whether Mark wanted to add anything to that, if that's okay.
Yes, that's fine. Mark, do you want to just come in on that item?
Only to endorse really what Joe's mentioned about the difficulty of completing this form. Invariably, that it is late every year because of the autumn statement. This is peculiar this year because of the pandemic we're going through and the uncertainty of when the pandemic will end, therefore when the release are going to end for business rates. There's also uncertainty in the high street of what will happen to the high street when the pandemic's ended. We have had it confirmed by government that the multipliers are going to remain the same. So our gross collectible debit will be in the same ballpark as last year. Key areas that we're not sure of going forward are what is going to be used to net that gross figure down, give us a baseline figure to be able to share with our county government colleagues.
An added dog.
It's the phone and the dog, so I'll double whammy for me.
So in terms of the recommendations then, because we don't have the return itself to accompany the report, I would suggest that we delete 2.1 because obviously we don't have it to approve today. That 2.2 is to note anyway, and that we amend the wording of 2.3. So rather than delegating any amendments to the return, it is to delegate the sign-off of the return itself. And of course, we can circulate the return to this committee before it is submitted.
Thank you. So thanks, Joe. Yes, and so we will certainly make sure that return is circulated to committee members. Open to question and comment. Councillor North, Sam.
Thanks, Chair. Just in terms of that amendment for 2.3, I think I would feel more comfortable if the wording said that the committee delegates any amendments to the return resulting from changes to the form and any additional guidance to the Service Director customers in consultation with the Service Director resources and the Council Tax Setting Committee. I feel a little bit more comfortable with that rather than in consultation with the committee chair and circulating, if that's okay.
I'll come back to that in a second. I'll take Councillor Levitt first, and then I'll come back to that point. Councillor Levitt, David.
It was a similar point. I was just going to check that. Are we legally able to delegate the signing off of that form? Are we legally allowed to do that?
Bring in Joe. Joe.
Yes, yeah. And in fact, I believe that's what happened last year as well. Mark will be able to.
Yeah, it happens every year. Every year there has to be amendments to the form. The form is not available. Every year it's delegated down to the executive member and the service director.
So, any other? So I think what would I mean, obviously there's a proposal to amend that. I mean, clearly we're not in a position where we can have a further meeting. Would the committee be happy that effectively perhaps we could encompass it in the wording that will circulate for comment the form to the committee, but obviously ultimately the ultimate sign off will be left to the to the executive member or me as sort of committee chair. Does that make sense? I mean, well, certainly the aim is to make sure that you see it before it goes in and have an opportunity to comment. Good. Martin?
Yeah, I think you're right, Chair. I think I absolutely agree with Sam and David that the committee needs to see it, and any comments are sent back to yourself as Chair, but I think the actual sign-off has got to be by Joe in consultation with yourself. So I'm happy with that. Yeah.
Does that colleagues happy with that? That effectively that you'll see the return opportunity to comment, and then obviously the final sign off is left with left with me, and certainly I'm obviously happy to discuss any comments with you and Joe that come up. Does that, Matthew, have you are you able to kind of encompass that in a wording? I probably haven't phrased it entirely. Is that okay that you've?
Yeah, that's fine, Chair. So I'll have that written down in a decision sheet.
Fantastic, lovely. Okay, so on the basis of that, we'll circulate that to the committee, and obviously taking account of that further amendment that Joe proposed in terms of deleting 2.1. If the committee can vote, I'll get Matthew to take you through the vote. The committee can vote in the usual way.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, members. So the green tick for yes, red cross for no, blue hand for abstain. Thank you, and that's carried, Chair.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much indeed, and we'll obviously take that part forward as soon as we're able to circulate that return to you. Which I think, unless anyone tells me to the contrary, that brings us to the end of the meeting. So thank you very much indeed for your time this evening, colleagues, and thank you, committee services and officers, and we'll speak to you all soon. Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
Yeah. Bye now.
Bye.
Bye.